Chrissy would ride for Jim no matter what, they vowed. However, sis isn't riding today. She is kneeling in the center of traffic, pleading. Paramedics had to remove her from the sidewalk because she was sobbing. Why? Because Jim Jones was hauled out of his studio a few hours ago, exposed, humiliated, and in handcuffs. And you know who started it all? Cameron's family, not the police, not the media. No clip was leaked by them. A fucking documentary was leaked. Security footage from a hotel Chrissy was unaware of, voice notes, and erased texts. Everything fell in a burner account that is already gaining a ton of views. Then things worsen. It wasn't Jim's voice in that video. The remarks made by someone who is far too close to Chrissy make the entire relationship seem like a long-term setup. This isn't a hip-hop drama about love. Nobody was prepared for this amount of betrayal. The internet is currently blowing up. Harlem is in disarray. Chrissy merely muttered, even the police were frozen when she said something under her breath. He warned me that if I ever disclosed the truth, this would occur. However, just as everyone was thinking couldn't get any worse for Chrissy, things took a horrifying turn. There were rumors circulating that she was being pursued, not by fans or paparazzi, but by what insiders are already referring to as a private surveillance division. According to some accounts, Cameron's cousin, who formerly provided private protection for a prominent politician, is now keeping an eye on Chrissy's whereabouts for reasons no one is prepared to disclose, to acknowledge in public. They're not just watching her, they're waiting for something. An anonymous informant even stated, nobody knows what that item is. However, Chrissy's terrified expression when she was seen at a gas station in New Jersey, her hands trembling, pacing back and forth, and muttering on the phone told the full tale. This is the point at which things truly go out of hand. Cameron's aunt. Indeed. The same person that had a falling out with Chrissy in the early 2000s due to a handwritten letter was leaked to a gossip page during a Bet backstage incident. She claims that Chrissy was the one who informed the police about Jim's covert rendezvous with a former crew member, members being watched by the federal government. Oh, it's beyond betrayal if that's the case. It's a war. Let's stop. For a moment, this isn't a rumor from the tabloid. The letter is written with fire, dated, and signed. Literally, just one line states, Chrissy always knew the streets weren't built for Jim. And now she's playing cleanup crew to save her own skin. Congratulations. The streets became illuminated. Blogs went crazy. Overnight, Chrissy the informant went viral on Black Twitter. This was posted by one user. Like, I don't believe that El Chapo's girl snitched and sobbed on Instagram Live after. Another person commented, she sobbed excessively. That's not grief. That's guilt. Now, what about the film that went viral? Cameron's family produced what they dubbed the Final Straw video, which was edited like a Netflix documentary. Around the time this letter was released, It begins with CCTV footage from a rooftop lounge in Manhattan, showing Jim giving a cloaked man a mysterious envelope. There is no sound. The footage turns to Chrissy getting out of an Uber 5 minutes later, appearing nervous and glancing around the area. Then, blazing lights, FBI coats, and Jim in the hitch. Is that Cameron's cousin, who uploaded the video, included this in the title. The entire narrative has been twisted. Are we seeing a setup? This is what the world missed. She knew. She guided him there. On YouTube, Reddit, and even TikTok, theories began to proliferate. One well-known thread deconstructed it like a film. Scene 1, Chrissy persuades Jim to reconcile with former associates. In Scene 2, she unintentionally suggests a time and location while being aware that the Fed has been keeping an eye on him. And in Scene 3, people loved it when she showed up sobbing, knowing what was going to happen. Even Mona Scott, who has previously declined to comment on a number of unpleasant situations, posted a mysterious narrative that stated, "Silence can sometimes shield the guilty." Fans believe that was directed at Chrissy. Let's now discuss the supposed financial paper trail. According to several unconfirmed stories, Chrissy made a deposit into a new offshore account 2 days before Jim's arrest. One of Cameron's uncles owns a shell company. And guess who wired the cool $250,000? Nobody believes it's a coincidence. One person even shared a screenshot of the purported transfer, writing, "She cashed in her man for clout and a payout." The story is getting out of control. Some claim Chrissy is a CIA plant, while others claim Cameron's family tricked her into. In any case, it's more complicated than we've ever seen. She panicked and struck a deal because she thought Jim was going to leave her for someone younger. Insiders claim that Jim is just ghosting her by refusing to answer her calls while incarcerated, leading them to believe that he is unaware of all of this. He won't even take her calls. This is the same woman who kept him down through a dozen near breakups, label conflicts, and career comebacks. Chrissy has been seen going to church twice in a week, wearing sunglasses at night, and strolling with her head down as the court date approaches. Isn't that chilly? She doesn't eat, doesn't sleep, and is always checking her phone as if she's waiting for another shocking revelation, according to people close to her. And just when the narrative seemed to be winding down, Cameron's sister intervened. Yes, you read correctly. She shared a monochrome picture of Chrissy and Jim with the message, with just the words, "You knew better," and an emoji of a shattered heart. In less than 2 hours, that post received over 80,000 likes. And in the comments, direct pandemonium, with some advocating for a full-fledged reunion special, others defending Chrissy, and others demanding that she come clean. Chrissy had always been renowned for her tough facade, the lady who had survived the chaos of hip-hop and the storm of love. The public never witnessed the fractures in their seemingly unbreakable, intense bond with Jim, but behind closed doors in their home, things were far from perfect. The late she had supported Jim through his legal issues, his street connections, and the constant threats hanging over him for years. But the minute as she stood outside the courthouse, her world fell apart as shackles clicked around his wrists, as if the cosmos had destroyed the life she believed she had created. Not only was Jim arrested, but the very individuals she believed to be trustworthy had betrayed her, and she was unaware of the facts that had been concealed from her. And suddenly, as social media erupted with whispers and cameras flashed, Cameron's family, the same folks Jim had known as his own, released a heartbreaking piece of proof that nobody was ready for the leaks, which began to surface hours after Jim's arrest. Initially, a number of private discussions between Jim and some of his closest confidants. Now in the hands of Cameron's camp. Next came the videos, which were initially fuzzy but clearly authentic. In one of them, Jim is seen having a furious argument with Anne. The weight of these revelations was like a tidal wave, and Chrissy was left in its wake. An unidentified figure was obviously talking about plans unrelated to the life he had created with Chrissy. She was drowning in bewilderment and rage as her phone rang nonstop, sending out message after message with the same startling news. It was a betrayal unlike any other. Cameron's relatives had proof that might expose both Jim and her. The same individuals who had once referred to as her family were now responsible for this terrible leak. Chrissy made an effort to maintain her cool, but soon the tears started to pour. The public couldn't get enough of the disclosures, and reactions erupted on Twitter, Instagram, and all other platforms. The world was eager for answers, and Chrissy was left to respond to a question she couldn't answer. Some expressed sympathy for Chrissy, while others accused her of being involved in Jim's plots. Even begin to comprehend, how much of Jim's life had she really known? By now, Chrissy had been portrayed by the media as the sad figure, the woman whose loyalty had taken her down a sad and dark path. But the story wasn't over. The letters, pictures, and videos were just the while back at the Yee residence. Chrissy had to contend with a new conflict between her private and public lives. The woman who had previously every friend, associate, and anyone who had ever been a part of their lives was suddenly a possible suspect in this developing scandal. And the queen of reality TV was now the focus of a harsh glare. Jim's incarceration was just the start. Chrissy's precarious life began to fall apart. Weren't adding together? Why had Cameron's family waited until now to reveal if Jim was involved in something this serious? What was the true motivation behind the leak? Chrissy was working to clear her own identity, not just Jim's. The following day, an unexpected visit to the lawyer's office took an unexpected turn. Chrissy entered the antiseptic space with the pressure of the situation bearing down on her. But the lawyer's next words would alter the direction of this whole story. "There's something you need to know," he uttered in a barely audible whisper. "We've had eyes on Cameron's family for a while now. They appear to have been waiting for the ideal opportunity to launch their case against Jim. However, what you don't, I am aware of this. The evidence they have made public was not intended for public use. It's a component of something much larger." As Chrissy listened, her pulse raced and her thoughts raced with questions. What was Cameron's family aiming to achieve? Who was in charge of all of this? The pressure on Chrissy grew as the days went by. Most importantly, was Jim the man she believed him to be? Or had she been blinded by love all these years? One thing remained constant despite the increasing frequency of leaks: the crazier stories, and the nearly intolerable strain to keep her cool. The last realization came late one night, as she couldn't get rid of the persistent feeling that something was missing. As Chrissy flipped through her phone, a fresh message from an unknown number appeared. It was short and said, "The truth is worse than you think. You've been set up." Chrissy clicked the link with shaking hands and was shocked by what she saw. A brand new film that had never seen before had appeared. This time, it wasn't Jim on the screen. Instead, it was someone she hadn't anticipated, one of Jim's closest allies, caught in a chat with none other than Cameron. It was evident from the chat that Jim was never supposed to be the fall guy. This was a well-planned action that would bring. The most terrifying aspect was that Chrissy was in the background, unaware of the game being played in front of her, bringing down the entire empire Jim had laboriously built. Chrissy's world collapsed again as the television went black. She was not only embroiled in a controversy, but also in the epicenter of a plot. Everything Chrissy believed to be true about her life, Jim, and even herself, fell apart the night she viewed that last tape. The reality, if you could understand, Jim was not merely the man she had supported for years. Rather, he was a pawn in a bigger, more diabolical scheme than she could have ever dreamed. Perilous game that had been meticulously planned by individuals Chrissy believed she could trust. And in the middle of it all, Chrissy was torn between betrayal, loyalty, and an overpowering yearning for the truth. The film, which had suddenly surfaced, was unsettling. Cameron, the man who had previously referred to Jim as his brother, was seen having a lighthearted conversation with one of Jim's closest associates, but the underlying threat was obvious. Talking about business as normal, they were scheming, preparing a disaster far greater than Chrissy had imagined. And in the background, Chrissy was practically invisible, playing the helpful girlfriend character, while being unaware of the commotion going on around her and the darker intentions at play. As Chrissy watched the film again, her pulse raced and her mind raced with unanswered questions. Why hadn't she noticed the warning signs? How long had Cameron's family been preparing this treachery? And what part did she play in it all? Was she merely a pawn, a way to an end in a game she wasn't even aware she was playing? Soon after the video went viral, responses began to pour in on all social media platforms and gossip sites. Everyone was talking about Chrissy, but she didn't receive the support she had hoped for. Allegations abounded in the comment sections, judgments, and poisonous conjecture. How long had she been aware of Jim's filthy behavior? Was she complicit? Dealings. The world had turned against Chrissy, and she was barely able to gaze at the television anymore. In the midst of the mayhem, Jim, the one person she truly needed, was incarcerated, and his silence left her to face this battle on her own. But Chrissy wasn't one to give up. Her entire life had been scrutinized by the public, and if there was one thing she knew how to do, it was endure. She had experienced worse. A woman who had made a career out of reality TV drama and who had battled mightily to keep her private life just that private, was now thrust into the spotlight in the most combustible way imaginable. In the dark of night, Chrissy made a decision that would alter everything. The first step was obvious. She had to learn everything. She made a step that may make or break her. She reached out to Cameron directly. After all, Cameron wasn't just any guy. He was a powerful man with his own goals. But Chrissy wasn't scared. If she was going to learn the truth, the phone call was tense. Every word, pause, and quiet between them seemed like a mine ready to explode. Chrissy's voice faltered at first, but she had to go right to the source. She soon regained her composure and declared, "I know what you've been doing. I know you've been behind everything." There was a long silence on the other end of the telephone. Leaks, the videos, the lies. "I want to know why. Why are you doing this to Jim?" For an instant, Chrissy thought he was going to hang up, but then Cameron said, "You don't get it." Chrissy, in a calm, low voice, "It's not about Jim," he stated. "Jim has never been the focus. It's all about you. You and your allegiance. The person who has been in the way the entire time is you. You've been covering for him and defending him. However, you weren't aware of the whole tale, were you?" Chrissy's face began to lose blood. What do you mean? Jim is overly involved." Cameron went on, "He's been manipulating individuals you don't even know. Love has blinded you, and now it's too late. This is something that cannot be undone." Chrissy gripped the phone more tightly. "So what? Do you really believe that you will destroy him?" "No," Cameron replied in a chilly tone. "Ruin us. I'm just exposing the truth. I'm not destroying anyone." The call ended suddenly, leaving Chrissy standing in the center of the room with her mind racing. The truth that Jim's been hiding for too long. Cameron had just acknowledged everything. However, he was not telling her the whole truth about this. She wasn't going to watch helplessly as everyone around her ruined the life she had battled for because there was a larger scheme at work. 4. Chrissy spent the next few days learning more about Cameron's background, relationships, and true intentions. She assembled pieces of the puzzle, and she was shocked by what she discovered. Jim was being used as a pawn in a plot by Cameron's family and a number of other influential people. A bigger game. It was more than just old grudges and street feuds. It was about controlling money and a cross-industry power struggle. However, Chrissy found something that would alter everything while looking for answers. The damning films. Pictures, texts, and other information that had been leaked had been manipulated. They weren't merely revealing Jim. They were intended to shatter Chrissy and get her to doubt her own knowledge. The struggle to save her life and win her love was far from ended. Chrissy was not going to give up easily to Cameron or anyone else. It appears that we are only beginning to explore this explosive narrative as the drama plays out. Will Chrissy reveal her role in Jim's incarceration at last? Or is this the ultimate violation of confidence? There is little doubt that this story is far from over. However, we would like to hear from you. What do you believe actually took place? Is something worse going on here? Or was Chrissy just an innocent bystander caught up in a mess? Please share your opinions in the comments section below. If you're as surprised by this development as we are, don't forget to click the like button you're not interested in to fail to see what comes next. Thus, remember to subscribe and turn on the notification ring so you'll be the first to know when the next big life drama will be released. We're in control of everything. You know, delivering the unvarnished, unadulterated truth. Keep checking back because if you thought this was insane, hold on. The true secrets are only beginning. Hold on. The true secrets are only beginning.